This video is going to walk you through the grading expectations and how to complete the work for the responding portion of your grade, which is 25% of your overall art grade. I'm just going to let that sink in for a moment. So if you're thinking, I'll just get this done quick, wouldn't recommend it. 25% is a lot. So right now, if you can't read clearly on the screen by pausing this video, you can access this document by going into the responding folder that you have access to in our Google Classroom and reading it from there. But basically, it's really important right now that you either pause this video and read on the screen, or that you're pulling up the document and reading there. You need to read the enduring understandings, the responding section that's located here, and then whichever grade you are shooting for in this class. Okay, so by now you understand that there are two main parts. Essentially, you are taking your artwork and you're comparing it to others. You're creating, therefore, then a future plan and goal, and a plan to execute the whole thing. How are you going to achieve all of that? And we're going to do this through two different documents. So as I'm speaking, go ahead and split screen us. So I'm on one side and your self is on the other side doing the exact same thing as me. You're going into the Google Classroom. You are opening up the Responding to Art folder. From there, you are finding your class period, and then you're finding your number. You are typing in your first name, your last name, and your number at the top here. You are then going to insert your artwork, and here's how I do this. So for example, a picture of your art is here, which means your art is done, your art is on display, and you've turned it all in. So we already have these pictures. You're not going out and taking new pictures. You're going ahead and opening up that art turn-in folder and finding your class period. You're going to your slide, you're highlighting it in blue, and I'm going awfully fast, so feel free to pause. And you are hitting Control C as in cat on your keyboard. You can also double click and then go to copy. Either one works. Then you go back to respond and you hit Control V. You will want to shrink it down so it fits within the box. And you can either cover up the words like I did on the top, or you can just place it slightly down below. Okay, you have paused and made sure you have both pictures and your name on your slide. So now we're moving on to the bottom box. You are going to list out for me what media you used. So pencil, color pencil, ebony pencil. This person happened to use ebony pencil and cut paper. You're listing how many days you used to create it, not how many you were given, but total how many days did you use to make this art piece. And then your purpose. And it's okay to have your purpose be fun or funny or silly. It doesn't need to be grandiose, but what was your reason for creating this art piece? What did you want your audience to get or feel? And you'll notice I made this space very small. It's because I intended it to be a sentence or less response. Then we're going to move, there are three main parts of this. So there are two questions and then there are the peer responses. Let's go through the questions, and then I recommend, again, pausing after I explain each one and completing it. So the first thing are the directions. It says pick one to answer completely. So you'll notice I have a basic level, a standard level, and an advanced level for questions. Use concrete examples and evidence to support your ideas. These examples or evidence could come from things that you did in the pictures that you already have here. They could come from anywhere on Google if you think of something that you want to compare your work to, or resources that you looked at when you were creating your work. Or they could come from peers and you're responding to, maybe person two actually had things that influenced you. When responding, you want to pick the question that best matches your ability to respond to it. It's okay if you are picking the basic level question as long as the standard level question is too complex for you. Obviously, the higher thinking order question you pick, the stronger or higher your likelihood is that you will be able to reach that A level, but not necessarily. So if we go back to the rubric, you'll notice that it says for the A level, student compares their artwork to others to determine future learning goals. That's kind of the main crux of what this question is going to be driving at. Well, you can do that at the basic level. The question says, where did your art idea come from and how does that connect to you? But you're obviously going to have to really push to get to that A level with the basic question. The standard one is explain how your artistic choices are influenced by culture and environment. Well, this one's a little bit easier to get to that A level, but it's a harder question to answer, making sure that you're using evidence and concrete examples. And then the advanced one, hypothesize ways art influences perception and understanding of human experiences. Wow, that's an intense question. If you can answer that, that is probably going to be in the A level, but if you just answer it with gobbledygook because you don't know what the question says or you don't know how to defend your answer because it's just a little too far outside your abilities, well then that could lower your score. So really make sure you're picking the right question for you. You are then going to signify which question you picked by either putting a B, an S, or an A at the start, and then you're just going to type it out right in this space. I'm expecting this to take 5 or 6 sentences to explain. You might actually have small pictures located somewhere in here. You're welcome to cover up the questions with pictures if you need a place to put them. But you really want to make sure that if you're getting concrete examples and evidence to support your answer, that you're being pretty articulate with your response. Okay, you have just finished that first question. Now we're going to go into one that's a little bit more challenging. Again, you're just picking one, and this time the standard level, or basic, excuse me, is which artwork expresses the purpose the best and why. So whatever your purpose of your art piece, you're going to compare and contrast your artwork to another's. Again, you can use the internet, or probably easiest is to just use a peer. And who did a better job of expressing their purpose, and why did they do that? Versus the standard level is discuss how the pieces influence or doesn't influence the viewer's ideas, emotions, or actions. So now we're really thinking through the lens of a viewer, which is a little bit more complex rather than thinking through the lens of just you. Now you're thinking about how will the audience interpret it. Versus the advanced level, analyze how one's understanding of the world is affected by experiencing visual imagery. Holy smokes, that's pretty complex. But some of you think at that level, and so if you do, take on that question and see if you can answer it. Again, making sure that you're very conscientious of the rubric, which is leading us to an end goal of student compares their artwork to others to determine future learning goals. Student uses teacher as an artistic resource, so if you feel stuck because you can't remember an example or you can't think of a word that you want to use to describe something, it's okay to ask for help. That in fact is a part of the A rubric, is that you would be interacting with me as a resource. Versus a guide would mean that essentially I'm having to ask you questions to pick that out. So what does this look like? How might you compare this? You know, if you're needing those guiding questions, then that is a sign that you might be functioning more at the meeting level rather than at the 100% level. And then you guide your own decision making with a clear plan and goal. That is going to happen in the peer responses and in the part 2 of this whole thing where you're going to do takeaways. But let's talk about peer responses now. So if you go down here, you're going to pick 2 peers to respond to. So let's be clear. You have I'm pointing to the screen, you can't see. You have the first question done, you have the second question done, and now you're responding to peers. You're picking out 2 different people to respond to, and those people have either 0 student responses or 1 student response. So each person will get 2 pieces of feedback. You are picking 2 of these 3 questions. 1 you'll use with 1 student, 1 you'll use with the other student. You are responding by putting in your number, your last name, then your first name, and then a 2 or 3 sentence response or defense of your question. This is not like an internet chat board. You are not trolling the internet. Make sure that you are keeping your responses academic and that you're thinking about the fact that they are being read for a grade or assessment. Once this is done, you'll want to move into the video that explains the art takeaway slide.